the breadth of this nation are 43 million Americans with disabilities. You have made this happen. All of you have made this happen.
Prior to the Education for All Handicapped Children Act of 1975, many states had laws that explicitly excluded children with certain types of disabilities from attending public school. This legislation was a landmark achievement in reliving this form of de jure discrimination. In 1990, President George H.W. Bush signed the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, into law, ensuring that students with disabilities have equitable access to learning opportunities in schools across the United States. This law highlights students' rights to receive appropriate accommodations and defines the responsibilities of schools to provide accessibility for all learners. As a result of the creation of the ADA, the Department of Education has provided access to necessary resources for students of different abilities to face fewer obstacles in daily life. Today, the ADA secures the inclusion of disabled students in schools, specifically by offering assistive technologies and expanding access to digital learning materials and remote learning platforms.
In 1973, a federal law known as the Rehabilitation Act was passed. One of its key provisions is Section 504, which prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in programs and activities that receive federal financial assistance. This law impacts a wide range of sectors, including healthcare, public education, and transportation, ensuring that people with disabilities have the same opportunities as everyone else. Despite the significance of this law, it faced considerable challenges before being enacted. President Richard Nixon vetoed early versions of the act multiple times as he believed the legislation, despite its noble intentions, would have unforeseen negative impacts on both the government and the disabled population it sought to support. Ultimately, the law secured its passage on September 26, 1973, but Section 504 faced ongoing delays. As a result, disability activists occupied federal buildings across the United States on April 5, 1977. This disruption to everyday life finally prompted action, capturing the public's attention. Soon, regulations were implemented and enforced across most areas in the U.S. Support for these measures intensified even further by 1990. The impact of the ADA on education for disabled students in the 1990s was significantly hindered by the technological and social limitations of the time. While the law aimed to break down barriers and ensure equal access, its implementation faced numerous challenges, as during this period, the availability of assistive technology was quite limited. For example, text-to-speech software was in its early stages and not widely accessible, while screen readers lacked the functionality and user-friendliness that many rely on today. Despite these limitations, students were still provided with special accommodations outside the realm of technology. Schools were required to enhance physical accessibility by making modifications to buildings, such as installing ramps and accessible restrooms, while transportation services were offered for children with mobility issues to and from school. However, disability stigmatization continued to be widespread during this period. This stigma often led to resistance to fully embracing and enforcing the ADA's mandates. For example, in Sanderson v. Michigan High School Athletic Association, 1994, two disabled high school students challenged the Michigan High School Athletic Association's age eligibility rule, which prevented them from participating in school sports because they were over the age of 19. The students argued that they were only over the age of eligibility because of their disabilities. The court upheld this, stating that it was a neutral policy applied universally and that granting exceptions would defeat the purpose of fair competition and student safety. The court also found that it did not violate the ADA or the Rehabilitation Act because it was not ableist and was related to the association's goals. This shows that educators and administrators greatly lacked training or awareness about disability needs, resulting in inconsistent compliance. This was further complicated by budget constraints in school districts which struggled to put aside sufficient resources for necessary accommodations, such as wheelchair ramps, accessible restrooms, or individualized student support.
Although the ADA is a groundbreaking law, its focus on education is limited, with only one title dedicated to the topic. The rights it provides are further reinforced and expanded by two other key laws addressing the needs of students with disabilities in public schools, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and Individuals with Disability Education Act, IDEA. While the ADA and Section 504 broadly ensures civil rights and protections for the individual with disabilities, IDEA goes further by maintaining a free and appropriate public education for eligible students with disabilities. IDEA also provides federal funding to schools that support these students. Given the overlap among these laws, many of the measures cover similar grounds, working together to help students with disabilities thrive in an inclusive school environment. As outlined in the ADA, services, programs, and activities of the school must be provided in the most integrated setting appropriate to the needs of the student.
The Act's emphasis on civil rights ensures that students with disabilities are guaranteed equal education opportunities. This includes access to the same facilities, programs, and activities as their non-disabled peers, such as classrooms, libraries, extracurricular activities, and school events. Schools are required to provide reasonable accommodations to enable full participation in education, with the threat of legal action or loss of funding serving as a constant incentive to meet these obligations. Accommodations for individuals with varying needs have a range of measures, one key aspect being assistive technology, which includes tools like screen readers and speech-to-text software that ease learning and communication. Additionally, interpreters play a crucial role in ensuring smooth communication for those who are deaf or hard of hearing, while note-takers can assist in capturing essential lecture content for classmates. Accessible transportation is vital for individuals with mobility challenges, ensuring that they can reach schools without issue. Offering learning materials in multiple forms, such as audio, braille, or digital versions, allows for all students to have equal opportunities to engage at their schools efficiently. These individualized supports are crucial because what benefits one student may not work for another. For example, a student on the spectrum might thrive with sensory-friendly environments and structured routines, while a student who is blind would require braille resources. The school district oversees compliance by providing staff training, allocating appropriate resources, and ensuring schools can meet diverse needs effectively. However, despite these protections, some schools fall short of truly addressing their students' needs, offering only the bare minimum and ultimately hindering their quality of education.
The ADA mandates that public schools provide equal educational opportunities for students with disabilities by addressing their unique needs through specific accommodations. At the school level, administrators, teachers, and staff implement measures such as modified curriculum to support students with learning disabilities, assistive technologies like text-to-speech software for students with visual impairments, or communication devices for students on the autism spectrum. At the state level, departments of education monitor district compliance, offer guidance, and enforce standards when necessary. Federally, agencies like the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, OCR, and the Department of Justice, DOJ, investigate complaints of non-compliance and enforce ADA mandates. Failure to follow these policies can lead to liability at multiple levels, with penalties ranging from corrective action to legal consequences. Beyond K-12 education, the ADA has had a profound impact on the lives of disabled students, expanding their access to education and future opportunities. By mandating accessibility in education, the ADA has significantly increased college attendance and graduation rates for disabled individuals. In the 2019 to 2020 academic year, 20% of undergraduate students and 11% of post-baccalaureate students reported having a disability, marking a rise in higher education compared to pre-ADA years. This progress contrasts sharply with the years before 1990, when systemic barriers like inaccessible campuses, a lack of assistive technology, and limited legal protections made it impossible for many disabled students to attend or succeed in college. Despite these strides, challenges remain. For example, students with disabilities often face difficulties such as insufficient institutional support, inaccessible course material, and stigma from peers or faculty. These challenges contribute to a 6-year graduation rate of 49.5% for students with disabilities at 4-year institutions, compared to 68% for non-disabled students. Despite these challenges, the ADA's emphasis on educational accessibility has enabled disabled individuals to gain the knowledge and skills necessary to compete in the job market. In 2021, disabled adults with a bachelor's degree or higher were twice as likely to be employed compared to those with only a high school diploma. Furthermore, increased employment opportunities have created economic independence, with many disabled adults obtaining jobs that align with their education and training. The ADA's legacy in education has extended far beyond creating well-educated adolescents. It has created economically independent, empowered adults who actively contribute to society and the workforce. The Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990 marked a monumental shift in the education of students with disabilities. It highlighted their right to receive appropriate accommodations and defined the responsibilities of schools to provide accessibility for all learners. By creating a system that mandated schools to provide accommodations and support, the ADA has eliminated barriers that once excluded children with disabilities from receiving a proper education. However, the work is far from over. The challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic and the shift to remote learning have heightened the importance of expanding access to digital learning materials and platforms. While the ADA has paved the way for upholding the rights of disabled individuals, it is clear that as technology and society evolve, so too must the responsibilities of those tasked to ensure that all students, regardless of disability, can access education in a fully accessible and equitable manner.